Hey, and welcome again. This is Eric Bannon with Red Hat. I'm one of the Senior Specialist Solutions Architects here, and I will be taking you through a new feature demo from our 3.70 GA release of ACS. And the feature is we have just added support for Cosign and image verification as an integration, but also as a policy that you can use within ACS in order to verify that your images are signed and potentially enforce the use of signed images in the environments based on those policies. So the first thing we're going to look at, and for those of you who aren't aware of what Cosign is, it's basically part of the SigStore project. It supports container signing, verification, and storage in an OCI registry. And it's used generally to make sure that you have some sort of key pair to sign your images and verify that they're trusted. And what we do first is we want to add this as an integration under our signature integrations, which is a new field that's appeared here. And you'll see I actually have a integration added. All you have to do is add the public key for Cosign to this integration and it will be present. So in my case, I've got my public key for Cosign and I'm going to be signing all of my images with my private key. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a policy that leverages the new criteria. So there aren't any default policies that are going to be enabled out of the box for this. There's a criteria you're going to want to look for. So if you create a policy, and we'll just call this signed images in production. I'll make the category security best practices. We'll go down. We're going to skip the rest of the sections and click next. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable this at build time and deploy time. And one of the things I'll do is I'll enforce this at build time. I'm not going to enforce it at deploy time. So build time would have to do with like a CI/CD check to verify that my images have indeed been signed by the private key. At deploy time, if I wanted to use the admission controller to actually block any unsigned images from getting deployed, I could also do that. So I'm going to click next. And here's what you're going to want to look for. So under the criteria, under the image registry tab, look for this not verified by trusted image signers. And when I plug this in here, I'm going to select one of the sources of that public key that I actually added earlier in the integration. So in my case, I'm going to select the one that I have, and I'm going to click Save. Click Next. I'm going to not do any inclusion or exclusion scope for now, but you could also do that if you wanted to. And now I'm going to review the policy. So obviously I'm going to have quite a bit of things that are unverified in my environment. Probably one of the things that I actually might want to do is scope this to a namespace. For now, I'm going to continue and just click Save. And so now let's actually go ahead and let's sign one of my images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign one of the images that I have. And it's this Log4j app. Let's say I've checked to make sure it's not vulnerable. I want to sign this. This is anytime we use an image with Log4j in it, I want to have this be verified and trusted. And I want this one to be used for this particular application. So I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And then I can verify the signature quickly. So I'll see the Cosign claims were validated. The signatures were verified against the public key. And if you remember, I turned on enforcement. So let's go to a Tecton pipeline that we have deployed. And let's actually run a pipeline. What this is doing is it's running an image check against the ACS API and validating whether any of the policies are in violation. So if I have an unsigned image, I should expect this to fail the build and return an exit code. If I use the one I just signed and I start this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in the image that I was just using, that I had just signed. And I'm going to click Start. And this should kick off the pipeline, which is going to check it against all of my policies, including the one that I just had. And you'll see that it passed everything. I haven't turned on any of the other policies, but I haven't seen any errors come up that are related to an unsigned image. Let's do this again, except let's go ahead and start it using an image that I haven't signed. So I'm going to start this pipeline, and I'm going to take a vulnerable log4j application as an example, one that hasn't been signed, and we're going to run it again with this. Let's see what it comes back with. And here you can see that it actually did fail the build. It says that I have failed the signed images in production policy. The X marks the spot on enforcement, and it gives me the description that the image signature is unverified. Obviously, you could put much more rationale and detail into this, but for a developer, this would be a good sign that they would not be able to deploy an unsigned image into the environment. Now, as we explained before, you could also do this at deploy time. So if one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to go ahead and enforce this, anytime we deploy an application with an unsigned image, we could also go ahead, go back to that policy, and I could edit this. And what I could do is I could also turn on enforcement at the deploy time stage. And what this would do is it would actually block it through the admission controller. So for example, in that case, if it did get through to deployment, I would actually be able to block that and enforce an unsigned image. Hopefully this has been helpful. There's obviously a lot more that we're going to be doing with this feature in the future, including additional sources of integrations to public keys and different image signing technologies. We began with Cosign, but obviously this gives you a policy-driven approach to preventing unsigned images from getting deployed all the way left within the CI/CD pipeline, but also as a mitigating guardrail at deploy time as well. If you have any questions, let us know, and we look forward to chatting with you soon. Thanks.